let's get back to the Mueller testimony. What it is that took place yesterday. Did I say hello? Tony Katz, 93 WIBC. Facebook, Tony Katz Radio. Be sure to like the page. What happened yesterday was, well, it wasn't good. Not for the political left at all. And I know there are people who are spinning in that direction. If you were to take a look at Raw Story right now, Republicans fundamentally did not achieve their goal of silencing Robert Mueller today. This, according to a national security analyst. That wasn't their goal. I mean, that is such a remarkably horrific, misleading headline. There aren't too many of those, but it does go to show that people will always retreat to their political supposed underpinnings. They will not, in far too many cases, be honest and be clear and be focused and be direct. That's the problem that we suffer through with media, which has been doing this for years now, and that's why we're so exhausted with them. They still haven't learned their lesson. The Brian Stelters, the Chris Cillizas, the Rachel Maddows, the Seth Meyers, all of them have not learned their lesson. The late-night hosts, man, do we need some better late-night TV options? Every time there's a conversation about talk shows and late nights, my ears, boom, perk right up like I'm a dog that heard the treats come out of the bag, and I am just all ready. Moving on that subject, by the way, it's not the story right now. Honesty matters. And so when we get honesty, whether it be from a late night host or the Sunday show hosts or the cable news people, we should be at least recognizing it. We should also say about time, but we should recognize it, like, for example, talking about the Mueller hearings, Terry Moran talking to George Stephanopoulos on ABC.
That question, was the ball advanced?
No. Impeachment's over. I don't think Nancy Pelosi is going to stand for her members bringing forth something that is going to obviously lose in the Senate, lose with the American public. And the problem with Mueller's testimony on this issue is that he had to carry the ball for them some way, whether he wanted to or not.
That's the truth. That's the position that they put Robert Mueller in. He didn't want to testify. He had said clearly, the report is my testimony. He had said the words, and they're like, nope, not good enough. You're coming in. We need you. But this is one heck of a damning thing to say.
Ball advanced.
No. Impeachment's over. Impeachment's over. Impeachment's over. Impeachment's over.
That's just brutal. Now, I would say to Terry Moran, it's far from over. It's far, far from over.
Over? Did you say over? Nothing is over until we decide it is. Was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? Hell no!
You can't argue with that kind of logic from a future senator. Then there was Chris Wallace.
Chris Wallace was saying while we were watching all of this, that question, there was a lot of discussion over how this would go, and it was sort of two different paths. They said they wanted him to animate the words of the report, and then there was also the line, nail him down with yes or no answers, in terms of the questioning. It seems like they've gone with the latter, mostly, Chris.
Yeah, I had to laugh a little bit when you talked about the testimony by Robert Mueller, because I think testimony has to be put in quotes. It really hasn't been much testimony. Frankly, I think you've both been very kind. I think this has been a disaster for the Democrats, and I think it's been a disaster for the reputation of Robert Mueller. I think you've both been very kind. I think this has been a disaster for the Democrats, and I think it's been a disaster for the reputation of Robert Mueller.
That is the honest assessment of rational people. Chuck Todd, by the way, Chris Wallace is Fox News, Chuck Todd of NBC.
Because they were looking for this dramatic moment that would capture the imagination. And I think for those members of House Judiciary Committee Democrats do believe they should start impeachment. The lack, if that's what Bob Mueller thought was needed to be done, he didn't do anything today to help advance that cause, and he believes that is where this should head.
No, he didn't. He didn't even say the words impeachment. This was a bad, bad day. The question is why the Democrats put him on the stand anyway. I say on the stand, you know what I mean. They had to know this was coming. Perhaps this is part of the plan. To say, look, there's Robert Mueller. He tried his best, but he was not up to the task. The political pressure too great. Now it's up to us to carry the ball. I don't think impeachment is done in the slightest. Matt Bear, he's got traffic.